Okay, so now we're going to talk about the long run cost curves for a firm. And so in the long run, we have something called the planning horizon, right? So again, managers, when they think about the long run, they're thinking about long-term plans. Should we build another factory? Should we buy more machines, right? If they're thinking about these things, they're thinking about the long run, because those things in the short run are fixed. They can't change them, right? But the planning horizon is the long run. It's when all inputs are variables, so we can change the number of factories we have as a firm. We can change the number of machines we have, and so on. So just like the short run, we also have cost curves in the long run, and they look pretty similar. The only difference is we don't have any fixed costs. So there's no total fixed cost curve, there's no average fixed cost curve. And on top of that, the total variable cost curve is the same as the total cost curve, and the average variable cost curve is the same as the average total cost curve. Again, because everything in the long run is variable, okay? Now the long run average cost curve is basically comprised of what's called the locus of points, representing the minimum unit cost of producing at any given rate of output given current technology and resource prices. Okay, so you might be thinking, what the heck does that mean? Just hang on to that for a second. We'll explain this in more detail, but basically what it means, and I can show you graphically what it means. This is the long run average total cost curve. The short run average total cost curves kind of are nested inside of it. Okay, and these points here are the locus of points. So these points and all of them put together are the locus of points. So that's really what it means. Okay. And so for us, the planning curve is just the long run average total cost curve. All right, so you see it here, right? So over here we've got only short run average cost curves. And so each of these might be a different size factory, for example, right? So here's a small factory, here's a medium-sized factory, and here's a large factory. And in the short run, the firm can't change the size of its factory. It has to pick one of these in the short run, right? But in the long run, it can pick any size factory, right? It can choose any one of these, and plus all the ones that are implicitly here. But it can choose, you know, really small factory up to a really large factory or a large number of small factories or whatever, right? But that's basically what we're talking about here. Okay, so one thing to observe is that only at the minimum point of the long run average cost curve is the short run average cost curve tangent to the long run average cost curve. Okay, so what does that mean? It's talking about this point right here, right? Only at the minimum here of the long run average cost curve is the minimum also, does the firm also achieve its short run average cost curve minimum. That's not true at any other point, right? So you can see if right here, if they're at this point on the long run average cost curve, they're not at the minimum of this short run average cost curve, okay? So why do you think the long run average cost curve is U-shaped? We don't exactly have the same story that we did in the short run, so why do you think it's U-shaped here in the long run as well? Maybe take a second to pause the video and think about this.